when you're a new grad and you come out, one of the things that happens is you literally have like an entire textbook in your brain, just past NABLEs, you have like all of this. I don't want to say it's useless information because it's useful, but there's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot of useless information.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it. This profession, it can suck it out of you, hands down, but it's also the most gratifying, rewarding, and honorable profession there is, in my opinion.
I absolutely love that medicine, but it'll push you. It'll push you real hard. That medicine will push you. I always tell this to new vets. I always tell them that you're going to grow more as a veterinarian than anyone else in your life around you. Your peers in other jobs are going to be growing because you're going to be put in situations that are so high pressure, so high stress on a daily basis that it is going to push you to grow at a much faster rate than people that are your peers are going to have to grow in their jobs. It's just different. You've got lives that depend on you. You've got high stakes things that are happening every day. You've got people coming in bad moods with their pets. You've got your team member that's having a hard time in their life and they're showing up, being mean, you have to work with them, whatever it is. You've got all these different things happening. It is going to push you to be better. And sometimes it can feel pretty bad when you're going through that.
Did you guys happen to put any of your mistakes in that book?
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. Of course we put some of our mistakes in that book because that's the best way that you learn. It's the way that none of us want to learn, but it's, those are the best learning cases, unfortunately, for yourself. Yeah, we do have some mistakes in there,
Most vets chase puppies and kittens. Today's guest doubled down on gray muzzles, the underdogs of veterinary medicine. And what she built around senior dogs says as much about our profession as it does about our pets. Welcome to Irreplaceable Truths, where we get real about the realities of veterinary life and the people fighting it to make it sustainable. I'm Dr. G, and today we're sitting down with Dr. Monica Tarantino, veterinarian, entrepreneur, mentor, and yes, the senior dog doc herself. Monica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I want to thank you first. I know we had to push the time back a little bit, but I felt like, hey, this is classic vet medicine. I was working a shift earlier today, and we just had, when you just get like sick case after sick case after sick case come in, and you have the half-hour time slot, but you're like, probably needed more time for each of them. So anyways, Thanks for being patient with us. And I'm so excited to talk to the audience and share things with them here, our fellow vets and vet teams.
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit because that's the thing. Because everyone says work-life balance. I just recently wrote an article and called it professional sustainability. What is it like? Well, like what goes through your head as a sick case after sick case after sick case after sick case comes in, and some people only get 15-minute slots for these.
Yeah.
But let's say you have that 30. How do you balance that?
I think the first thing I do, maybe it's just because I'm a vet, but and maybe I'm sure there's other people that do this too, but I just like triage it. I'm like, how do I stop the bleeding like in my schedule? How do I look at my schedule and say, okay, like this is unrealistic. Can we call this person and shift them over here? Can we reschedule this person? I really look forward and say, how can I make it so that I can provide the patients that are here right now and give them the best care and shift stuff around in the schedule that'll work optimally for everybody. So that's the first thing I do. And talk to my team members about it too, because if our technicians and our assistants are struggling with the caseload too, and what we're trying to do, no one wants to cut corners. And so whatever it takes as far as like planning and overseeing to help make sure that we are providing that patient the best care, and saying, hold on guys, like this is more involved than we had thought it was going to be, and moving things around. That's what I look for.
Yeah. One of the tricks I used to do is if I started getting like logged down with sick patients, because there are days that it is nothing but puppies, kittens, cyto points, and maybe an x-ray, right? But there are days that it's like sick dog, sick cat, sick dog, sick puppy, sick senior dog. It just keeps going. I would always try to convince the owners just to leave the animal there, just so I didn't get so bogged down in the rooms. And then I could also, in between rooms, be working up those cases as well. Do you find that clients when you call clients on the phone, do you find that there is much pushback from them if they have to reschedule?
I don't think so. I think when you're really honest with communication with them too, like if you're running really late, like I was like 45 minutes late on an appointment today. And one of the pet parents was just the best. Like I asked, first of all, I asked the technician if they could just check in on them and let them know that I'm super far behind. We had a really sick patient, few patients there today, and let them know, asked if they wanted to reschedule, and they were fine with waiting. And then I got in there and they're like, I know what you've been through because I was here with him before and we were that sick pet in the morning that was taking up all the time and pushing it back. So I think that if you communicate early enough, if you're letting them sit there and simmer for half an hour before you're walking in there, anyone's walking in there to tell them, that's when you get in trouble. But if you're communicating early enough, most people understand. You might get some people that get a little bit upset or frustrated because they've been waiting for the appointment. But I think majority of the people out there are going to be gracious if they can be, and
And it
work
all
with you.
starts at the front desk when they come in. Like, let them know, hey, Dr. Monica, she's running about 20 minutes behind. We've had a couple sick patients, and give them the power right there. They could, I'll come back, because they all have schedules too. They're trying to keep,
Yeah,
everyone has their own life,
yeah,
or they'll be like, oh no, I'm okay. That's fine. Because I hope they realize that if that was their pet, that you would be giving their pet just that much attention as well. But
yeah,
sometimes they have a hard time comprehending that.
yeah. Well, I think certain people do, but I think a lot of them don't, and they're just so kind and thoughtful about it, you know. And so I think it depends on who the person is. But I love that idea too of letting them know ahead of time. I do if I can like see that far out. If it's like an afternoon appointment, I'm already like, look, I'm gonna have to be in this surgery for whatever reason, and we can call in advance. I think people really appreciate that, like because like you said, they have schedules too, and I want to try to honor that as best as I possibly can. I can't always do it well, but I always will try. And I think everyone, the whole, everyone, that team, the pet parents, the pets. Sorry, I've got a demanding dog scratching at the door back here. If you can't hear it, I think all of them appreciate it when you are able to do that.
Yeah, communication's key throughout the entire trip you do together. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So now, where'd you graduate from vet school?
So I went to Virginia Tech Vet School in Blacksburg, Virginia, and I graduated in 2014. Sorry, I just let this demanding old dog in. I know we are going to talk about old dogs. There was one that needed to come in the door here. Sammy, he's my 12-year-old foster. So yeah, I went to Virginia Tech Vet School, graduated in 2014, and then I practiced in Charlotte, North Carolina for the first few years of practice, or for the next basically 9 to 10 years. I originally my first job was okay, but I didn't have the best experience there. And then I took a job at a busy 24-hour hospital where I got to learn ER medicine, which was really good for me and kind of pushed me a little bit to grow quicker. And then eventually I went to a really lovely practice in Fort Mill, South Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, where I eventually became chief of staff there and led the doctor team. And that was just an amazing practice owned by a small business owner, Dr. Julie Reck, who is phenomenal, and she owned the practice there. And we just had like the best team, the best like pet parent, like pets, the best clients, everyone there. It just was a really special place that I loved it to work at. So
Yeah, you got that special relationship, which I think is missing a lot nowadays. And as far as the veterinary world, as far as mentorship goes, there's some people that are arguing we're using that mentorship now as a crutch, but I don't think it's a crutch. I think it's very, very crucial those first few years for you to be able to find that excellent relationship to teach you the ropes, basically.
yeah, I think so too. I think it's absolutely vital to helping any new vet succeed is having those mentors that are available for you. And it can be extremely challenging if you don't have that. And so I always encourage people, if you're not getting it within that first year, your first job, like go somewhere else, like try looking somewhere else to go. It's always hard to leave that first job. But for me, I wasn't really getting, I think, like the mentorship that I wanted or needed. And so I left, and I can't say that I got exactly the mentorship I was looking for at the second place, but I was in an environment where we were encouraged to kind of learn, surrounded by other new vets. Honestly, we had an internship program there, and it definitely pushed me to that next level. And I really appreciate that. I got something out of both of those places that I was at. And I think what's interesting too, you have to tell me if you've had this experience, but I know you've been in charge of vet hospitals forever, but if you remember not being in charge at one point, but I had a really bad boss at one point, really early on in my career. And what she taught me was she taught me what I did not want to be.
Bingo. Yep. I was
That,
just about to ask you that. Yep.
yeah. And that was just as valuable of a lesson for me as it was to see people that I aspired to be when I graduated. And,
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that as well. That as well, even though at the time I didn't really feel thankful for it, but I'm certainly thankful for it now. And it
Well, it's
helped me grow.
important because that's something to put in your repertoire. Like, oh, yeah, I will never do it like that. I didn't really appreciate the way that turned out. I was lucky, when I was an undergrad working at a veterinary hospital, had amazing mentors. I call them my second and third father. Um, I actually got a hold of one of them the other day and he promised to come on a podcast. I almost started crying.
Oh,
Um, but that they taught me the importance of the soft skills, right?
yeah,
I mean, the soft skills are not in textbooks. The soft skills are not really talked about in school. I know they have their actors coming in,
yeah,
but it's there's no way until you're into that real like client yelling at you in the face, threatening to take you outside, beat the crap out of you, take you to the state board, destroy your reputation on
yeah.
Yelp or Google reviews. I mean, until you deal with that one-on-one, it doesn't prepare you
No,
because you don't know what to say. You usually look at them like a deer in the headlights.
yeah, yeah. I think, and just what you just said right there, like learning how to communicate in difficult situations. You're not really taught that in the softs. I feel like with the soft skill classes, and I think what's the best thing to teach you that is someone that's really good at it out in practice, like to being like, what would you say? Like this happened during this procedure. Like, how do I call this owner right now in this moment and communicate what just happened, and getting that advice from someone. So definitely, I think learning how to communicate is underrated for sure in vet medicine. And I think that once you learn some of those skills, it just changes the game for you in a lot of different ways. So yeah.
Yeah, well, Monica, you always you tend to call the senior dog the underdog, right? Can we
Yes,
flip that really quick? Did you feel like the underdog when you graduated vet school and you started?
absolutely. Absolutely. I felt like the underdog. I think you come out and you there's a lot of pressure on you, to go out there and just start right away, just hit the ground running. And it's not like that. It's not like that, for us when we first come out. We have to work up and build kind of our stamina with the cases, build still our problem solving, even though we've been taught that our entire life and really been judged on that and selected for that. But we have to really build that in real time when it comes to clients. And then you have to throw in these like real life scenarios, right? Like, oh, like they want to do all the things, but they only came with $100 today, and like how do you talk to that pet parent, how do you make a plan that's like spectrum of care for them, or talk to them about that. So I think that you certainly graduate and it does feel like being the underdog for a while. I think there's this sweet spot though. So I think there's a couple times after you've graduated that are times where you start developing more confidence. Your first 6 months are just a blur. You're just like out there, like, what is happening? What's going on? You're just so new at it. Walking into rooms with your doctor coat on or your scrubs or whatever, it just feels almost surreal that you're the doctor, even though you've been training for that for so long. So I think that at the 6 months out point, I think that's when you're like, okay, like I can handle probably about 75% of the cases that come in that walk in the door. I've seen them all, the diarrhea dog, vomiting dog, whatever. I've seen a lot of them and I have at least an idea. I've managed one or two of these cases. And so I have some experience, my own personal experience with it. And then I think once you hit like the 1 year mark, you gain even more confidence, where you've seen even more and maybe you've navigated some challenging cases that did not have an exact answer. And you've helped either navigate those cases, you start getting some more confident in that. You realize that being a good clinician doesn't mean you always have the answer. It's part of being a good clinician is actually being able to know when to say, I don't know, and be completely honest with that and tell the pet parent that. And be like, I don't know, but here's what I would suggest doing so we can try to find out or to try to help them the best next step. So I think there's a couple of different points when new grads graduate that where they start gaining confidence, they start feeling a little bit better about what they're doing out there.
And you have to realize confidence is not ego. Confidence is just starting to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
starting to get that professional identity, starting to, be able to perform when you need to, because they have to realize they're educated. It's just like, I wonder if they get like analysis paralysis or a fear driven paralysis, and they come out and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And they don't trust themselves. There
Yeah.
are certain things, obviously, yes, you should be able to do it, but it was someone there helping you, holding your hand. The see one, do one, teach one, I've always preached. Um, just because it really, once you're able to teach how to do something or explain something, I feel as if it really ingrains in you how well you know it, and it gives you that confidence.
Yeah, and you feel like, you've kind of like mastered it a little bit. Once you can teach something, you really have to know what you're talking about, hopefully, in order to teach it to someone. So yeah, I think that's always a really helpful way to explain, the learning process. And it varies for everybody too, but I do think that that first year of learning can be extremely hard. It was so hard for us, that myself and a classmate of mine, Dr. Ashley Gray, we actually teamed up after our first few years out in vet medicine, decided to write a book that explained things to new grads in a way that like our mentors explained it to us. Like not in something you're going to find in a textbook. You like, because we have
Mhm.
all the textbooks out there, but we were like, no, I want like a real life vet who manages all these cases that I think is a great vet to tell me how they think about this case that comes in, or to tell me how they explain this to a pet parent. So that pet parent walks out and they're even more likely to have more compliance with them, a better relationship with them, and they're more likely to have a better understanding of what their pet's dealing with currently. So we wrote two books because of that. We wrote a general practice book called the New Vet Jumpstart Guide. That's a GP. Actually, we have something really exciting coming out. We're about to launch a brand new version of that. That's like the edited, updated version with like the more relevant stuff from today and in 2025. That's going to be coming out later this year. And then we wrote
That
an ER
that's
version.
awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we're
awesome.
really excited. We're excited about it. We had one of our friends from the class above us, Virginia Tech, Dr. Jess Romaine, who is an internal medicine specialist out in New Zealand now. And she edited a bunch of our chapters that were IM focused. And we have a dermatologist helping us edit some of our derm chapters. So we're super excited about that because it's going to be all edited with like the latest tips from these amazing specialists in there too. So we're excited about it. Yeah.
Did you guys happen to put any of your mistakes in that book?
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. Of course we put some of our mistakes in that book because that's the best way that you learn. It's the way that none of us want to learn, but it's, those are the best learning cases, unfortunately for
Yeah.
yourself. But yeah, we do have some mistakes in there. One of the mistakes that I always talk about is my first diabetic case, my first diabetic dog case. Really cute little rat terrier, middle aged. The dad, it belonged to this single dad who loved him so much, and uh, and one of the things that I forgot to talk to the pet parent about was the fact that 90% of these guys are going to develop cataracts within the first few months of during the course of having diabetes. And so one day the dad woke up and the dog was bumping into things and the dog was completely blind. She had developed full cataracts, and he came in and he's like, I wish you would have told me this.
Oh,
And I remember
that's
just
like a
feeling
knife to the
crushed.
heart. When a client says that, that is a knife to the heart right there.
It is. And I was crushed and I was like, felt horrible about it. And it was just like the biggest learning lesson. It was like, don't forget to mention they're all going to get cataracts that might be an expectation they can prep themselves for. And so, he kept coming back to see me, but it's just one of those lessons that you learn that makes you better and you tell other people so that they don't forget it. Because when you're a new grad and you come out, one of the things that happens is you literally have like an entire textbook in your brain. You just passed NAVLEs, you have like all of this. I don't want to say it's useless information because it's useful, but there's a whole bunch of
No,
stuff that you learn in
there's a
vet
lot
school.
of useless information.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it. If you use
There's,
any of your virology like
yeah.
stuff, yeah, come
It's
on.
stuff you're not gonna, that's good to have had that base knowledge for, but you're not going to be using it in your diagnosing cases most of the time, or when you're communicating to pet parents or just staff or whatever you're doing. And so you have all that still in your head, and what you're still trying to sort through as a new grad is, okay, like which of all this stuff that I've like stuffed into my head the past 4 years is actually valuable to what I'm about to do, right? And so you're trying to they have so much that they're processing that it's difficult because they're like, well, what's important here? And that's what they're trying to figure out as well as trying to to learn how to communicate to people, work with their technicians, like everything.
So before you went to vet school, how much experience did you have in a clinical setting?
I had worked for about 4 years in a clinic before I went to vet school. So I wanted to make sure it was the right thing that I wanted to do. But vet med is actually a second career for me. So I worked in the defense contracting space like early on. I wanted to be a vet since I was a little girl, but then I didn't think I was like cut out for it. You get one bad grade and you're like, all right, well, that's it for me. I'll never make it. And so I decided to go kind of towards the business route. And I graduated from college, took my first job doing project management type stuff, and then worked in it for a few years. And then I remember I kept thinking about like, I should go back and like, what if I could be a vet now? What if I could do it? And then, your brain's like, oh, you're too old. Like you just own pets. That'll be enough for you. Like just own pets. And I kept telling myself that for a few years. And finally I was like, God, I think about it too much. Like I have to go. And I was telling my dad about this and he was like, honey, he was like, so I kept having all these different plans. I was like, well, I'll do rescue. I'll do this. I'll do that. He's like, don't crab walk to where you want to go. Just go straight there. And so I
Right.
quit my job. I moved into my, basically like moved into my parents' basement, moved into the house of my parents. I took a job as a receptionist. I just finished my MBA, took a job as a receptionist at Animal Hospital. And I'll tell you what, as soon as I walked into the doors and took that job, I knew I was at the place that I always would want to be. Like I wanted to be in a vet clinic. There was no other place for me. There, these people that loved animals that I was with all day around, like all day long, they were like me, like my technician friends, my doctor friends, like they were just like me. I was been obsessed with animals my entire life. They were too. It was kind of being like surrounded by like the best group of weirdos, in the vet hospital,
Yeah.
and being like, this is home. No
There are
offense to
other
my
people like me out there.
yeah, like I'm not
Hallelujah.
alone. Yeah, that was it. I was like, you guys are weird too, and
Yeah.
I love you for it. So yeah, so it was
So
great.
so getting back to your idea of like your brain's just one huge textbook full of knowledge. Do you think those 4 years before you went helped you shift, like figure out, okay, this is important. No, that I won't ever use that. This is important. No, I won't ever use that.
Absolutely. Well, I think, when I was a receptionist for that first year, I was getting yelled at and stuff, as a receptionist picking up the phone at the front desk. So I got to see what pet parents like complain about. I got to see what they're worried about when they call. I got to experience everything from the doctors telling me to call them to say this, from the pet parents saying this, from the mistakes that were made, and the wrong medication was sent home. I got to learn like what actually happens in a hospital on a day-to-day basis. And then I got to move to the back and see it even more and just learn more and more about veterinary medicine and like what it actually is involved in being a veterinarian or on the vet team. And it was honestly the best experience for me because it taught me that. But also, I do think that going into vet medicine as a second career, I felt self-conscious for a little bit when I was in vet school because it's like all these like young, brilliant kids that went to college and went straight into vet school or whatever. But then at the same time, there's a group of students that were had previous careers, and I do think there's an advantage to it because you've been out in the real world. And you know what people in the real world complain about, what they worry about, what their fears are, and it just makes it a little bit easier, I think, when communicating to people because you have just been around for longer and dealt with that for a little bit longer, and you've seen a little bit of that. So I do think for sure the experience in the animal hospital was really critical to my development as a vet and graduating.
Yeah. I mean, I use that all the time. It was, there were students in my class. I mean, obviously I graduated in 2000. I don't want to put my age out there, but there were a bunch of students in my class that never worked in a veterinary situation or clinic, and they got in. And the crazy thing is, those were the top probably 10% of the students that graduated as well, which was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Um, and they they wa- I mean, talking about the day after graduation, their whole life was bamboozled, right? Because
right.
all they've known is how to be perfect.
Yeah,
And the one thing I know I learned is that you don't have to be perfect to be an excellent veterinarian.
yeah,
You just have
absolutely.
to communicate, be realistic, and make sure that the owners understand exactly what's going on at all times, and your life is a lot easier. The whole
Yeah,
concept of perfectionism is not there. And I love the fact you're like, oh well, I got a bad grade. I ain't going to vet school.
Yeah, yeah, I was exactly. So I had to get over that concept early on in my journey. So yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Did you take that
absolutely.
class in order to apply?
Oh yeah, I definitely had to. It was genetics. Genetics is
Oh,
brutal, man. But
another
yes,
class that you'd never use anything from. But yeah, that sounds good.
yeah, just some hardcore science. But yeah, I agree. I think understand that you don't have to be perfect to be an amazing veterinarian is really important. It was really inspiring for me to see that's ahead of me in the field, just practicing vet medicine, doing a great job. Um, and it looked really different. It was so funny because every vet out there or vet team member is different. They have different personalities, they have different strengths, they have different weaknesses. And seeing my really quiet, really quiet vet that goes in there and has so many people that love them and are like so dedicated to them, right? And then you have like a really loud, extroverted vet that goes in there and they've got different personalities. And I really enjoyed watching different personality types, different ways that people would approach things, and kind of learning them. I think that was one of the most exciting things when I started in vet medicine, was just watching how other people do it, and they could do it really differently, and it could look really, and it could come out amazingly, for them. So
Okay, so I'm extroverted. You sound like you're very extroverted.
I'm
Um,
introverted. I trick
are you
people.
really? Oh,
Yes.
perfect. So this will work great. Um, because for me, I love to hear my voice, right? And I tend to believe that I got a little bit of my charisma from my father, who was even more extroverted than myself. How, what person, so if you're introverted and you feel as if you don't have that charisma and able to have that, because it's very exhausting to have that relationship with clients. Just if you're introverted, it's two times more exhausting than if you're not.
uh,
Are there any tidbits you can give them, like how to get around that or how to work with that?
I think there's certain things that you can do in exam rooms if you're not a natural introvert or you don't feel like people skills come easily to you. There's a couple of things that you can do in exam rooms that will make you seem, make you allow you to connect better with the people that are in there, and that's really important. So it's a lot of it's about connection and conveying the fact that you care deeply about their pet and that you're listening to what they're fearful about or their concerns. I think it's really all about communicating that. I certainly think eye contact is very important. I think pausing and checking in is really important. I think after they express a concern, repeating it back to them and being like, I want to make sure I understand you're most worried about this right now. And so, and you're asking if there's something I can do about, that. And so let me talk to you about that and kind of diving into it. I really think that those couple of things can certainly help you if you're an introvert. And then I really think that protecting your time and your space outside of the clinic is important as an introvert as well, and not having shame around that. I mean, this is probably like an overshare, but here we are. So let's do it.
Let's
We
dive in.
used to have, for me as an introvert, we would have all of these at a lot of animal hospitals. In order to help keep morale up, they'll sometimes have like a lot of team building events outside of the clinic, off hours or whatnot. And there's certain ones I would obviously go to, and then there was a lot that I would not go to, not because I didn't want to build with a team, but because I had to, as an introvert, kind of like also preserve the times that I was out there with them, so that I could show up as my best, right? And so I'm not saying yes to every single thing that comes my way, and then I can say no, and it can still be okay when it comes to that. And that's not to say that, like, all the doctor meetings we have to go to and all those things are true team building things, but I don't need to go out every single Thursday night for the margarita night in order to, say yes to every single thing that's asked of me, with the hospital, with other things as well. So I think making sure you have boundaries as an introvert is really important, and know what you need and just communicate that and be like, I love you. And I tell this to the team. I was like, I love you guys. I spend more time with you than I do my family. Like, I'm here all day long, you know,
Exactly.
4 days a week, like 5 days a week, whatever I was working that schedule. And I love you guys, but like, I don't need to see you more. Like, I'll see you next week. We'll grab coffee here and we're here together. So I think,
And if I
they,
hate you now, just give me some tequila. I'll hate you even more.
yeah, no, but my extroverted colleagues are like, what do you mean? Like, we should go. And I'm like, no, like, you guys are the best, but like, honestly, I'm going to see you tomorrow. It'll be fine. So I think also just setting boundaries, understanding that you've got different places where you get energy from as introvert is good, and being okay with that.
So, because I love this introvert thing we got going, because uh, how do you recover at home then as an introvert?
You,
Because
I
as an
feel like,
extrovert, I go out with my buddies or I go out with my wife. We go out with couples. I go do stuff. Talk to people outside of veterinary medicine.
yeah, no, for me, I mean, as an introvert, I just go home and I talk to no one. That's how I recover. I don't know about you guys, my fellow introverts out there, let me know. But I mean, doing anything that involves, so for introverts, at least for most of them, being either by yourself or being around like one or two of the closest people that are closest to you can be extremely rejuvenating, but it's certainly taking time for yourself. So I need to like read a book. I need to do something by myself. I need to go for a walk. I need to go for a run. I need to take care of my health. I need to plan my week. I need to just do things on my own that allow me to kind of connect back with myself. And then it allows me to show up a lot better when I'm at the clinic as well. So, yeah.
When you think about these early career professionals, why is it, do you think, that they do not voice that they're drowning? They keep it in until it's too late.
Yeah. I, I, I'm sure that it's a lot of reasons. I think certainly that they're scared of disappointing people around them, or they're scared that they're not doing enough. I remember I remember even this as a doctor today, and I'm okay with it, and I'm very open about it. Tend to spend more time in exam rooms with the pet parents and the patients in there, and I really connect with them a lot. But as a result, my appointments may take a little bit longer. And I remember seeing, at one job that I was at, our boss would sit down with us every month and compare the number of appointments that I saw versus the number of appointments that another doctor saw, or the amount that we brought home versus the amount that another doctor brought home. And I could always, even though I didn't see as many appointments, I actually could be pretty competitive with how much I could bring home, because I ended up getting a lot more trust with the people that I was with. So we would do more, right? If that was the case.
Right.
And it was just a little bit different than how other people do that. But I remember always feeling a disappointment. He's like, well, we got to get you seeing more cases. For him, it was all about, well, if you bring in this much for this number of cases, you need to see more to be like, this person over here or that person over there. And I was like, it's just not, sorry. But, for me, the way that I needed to practice really good medicine, and being conscious of course, you need to help the clinic stay afloat and bring that money in. But the way that I could practice medicine was a little bit different than how that person he's constantly compared me to. And so I think that it made me feel, as far as like, I tried, and it made me feel less than. I felt like I was disappointing him. I felt like I was disappointing, certainly, I guess him. And so I think that certainly not speaking up, a lot of times too, you just don't know that you can speak up. Like, you don't even know it's a thing. You're like, I just assumed that when I showed up here that I was going to have to only have this 30-minute slot to catch up on my lunch and my notes, and that I couldn't ask for an extra slot to catch up on notes, that I'd have to stay here late to do that. Or I think for some people too today, if they're getting like a really high salary or something when they start off, and they're not sure if they deserve it, they feel like they have to work, extra in order to deserve that salary, perhaps. But I think there's a lot of different things that go into it when when it comes to not speaking up for yourself or advocating for yourself at work.
And again, it comes back down to communication, right?
Yeah.
With the clients, communication with whoever's in charge of your clinic. I'm hoping there will always be someone there with an empathetic ear to listen what you're going through, because you're not the only one that's going through it.
Yeah. And being able to be honest with yourself too, that maybe you do feel like you're drowning. You're like, I'm okay. Like, I keep coming home. Like, it's okay. This is like what I signed up for. I put all this effort into this education. Like, I just need to keep going. This is just like a phase or whatever it is. And then slowly you're just burning out and telling yourself that you're going to be okay. And then before you know it, you're turned into something that someone you don't recognize. That actually happened to me at my one job, where I was working at a 24-hour hospital, and I was getting progressively more and more burned out. And I remember just waking up and being like, just bitter and angry about everything, like about the stuff that was happening at the hospital, where we're chronically understaffed, about how no one there seemed to actually recognize that, about how they had this huge management team that could be helping us on the floor, but they weren't. And we were like drowning, like in these exam rooms and coming in and working day in and day out. And I remember just feeling really bitter about a lot of things, and just feeling like I became someone that I didn't recognize. And I'd come home and I'd be angry. I'd come home and I'd be like unhappy with everything that in my life. And I remember my fiance at the time, Brent, he was like, you're becoming someone like I don't even recognize, and so I had to be like, whoa, like this job right now currently is pushing me to become someone that I don't respect. I'm being mean to people at work. I'm being petty to people. The vet assistants working with me, I'm being mean to them. I'm being not nice to receptionists. I'm being like becoming this person I don't recognize. And I think that burnout will push you to become that. And so I had to kind of honestly take a step back and be like, whoa, like what is happening? Like maybe we need to get out of this situation and figure out something different so that I could still love my job and still like what I'm doing, and recognize when you're being pushed too far too. So that's the experience that I had.
So, yeah, and I want to make it very clear. This is a true false question for you. You love veterinary medicine.
True. I love vet medicine so much.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
and you still had those issues, right? You still had those problems. You still had all those. I remember I had a come to Jesus talk with my wife and my practice manager, and they basically sat me down and they're like, listen, you need to stop being such a asshole because it's starting to really put a strain on everyone that works here.
Yeah.
And I am so of course that hurt more than anything, but I am grateful that they had that talk with me, because
Yeah.
immediately overnight it changed the way I looked at the profession, how I treated everybody, how I treated my clients, and I put up boundaries as well, so I could give my family the best of me, not what was rest of me, and when
Yeah.
I got home. And there's nothing wrong with that, because this profession, it can suck it out of you, hands down, but it's also the most gratifying, rewarding, and honorable profession there is, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love vet medicine, but it'll push you. It'll push you real hard. Vet medicine will push you. I always tell this to new vets. Always tell them that you're going to grow more as a veterinarian than anyone else in your life around you. Your peers in other jobs are going to be growing, because you're going to be put in situations that are so high pressure, so high stress on a daily basis, that it is going to push you to grow at a much faster rate than people that are your peers are going to have to grow in their jobs. It's just different. You've got lives that depend on you. You've got um, high stakes things that are happening every day. You've got people coming in bad moods with their pets. You've got your team member that's having a hard time in their life and they're showing up, being mean. You have to work on, whatever it is. You've got all these different things happening. It is going to push you to be better, and sometimes it can feel pretty bad when you're going through that. And sometimes, and it's going to push you to have difficult conversations too. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things in vet medicine is you will have to have difficult conversations with people around you to grow, to help them show up as their best, for you to show up as your best. It is going to have to happen. And for a lot of us that don't like conflict, that can be really challenging. I don't like conflict in particular, so that can be a really stressful thing, but it will push you to grow and to develop.
Yeah, conflict resolution is a class you take when you get your MBA. I know I took it.
Yeah. It really is. But I don't think it does it justice. Like when you're in that moment,
It's like having actors yell at you during vet school. It's
like,
not the same. It gives you maybe some tools to put in the toolbox, but until you do it one-on-one, you don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in your veterinary career now, you're enjoying the senior dog aspect of everything.
Yeah. So when I was in vet school, I had my very first own senior dog. And once you've had a senior dog, you know what I'm talking about. It is a very unique experience, or a senior cat, doesn't matter, senior pet. It is a very unique experience. You're watching this animal enter into the last phase of their life. Meanwhile, they are a family member to you. They're everything to you. And you are watching them slowly start to decline and things start to happen with them. Or they change and they're slowing down now. And you're like, what do you mean you don't want to chase the ball for 30 minutes like you used to do? It's a very difficult experience to to go through. And my old dog, Frodo Baggins Tarantino, he was a little Westie that I had. He was 10 years old when I went into my second year of vet school. And it was like at age 10, all of a sudden he went from being this really healthy dog to be this dog that I couldn't keep out of the vet clinic. So he had, a chronic bronchitis that Westies like to get. He had a splenic mass that ruptured during my fourth year of vet school. He had back and neck pain we were going to the vet for. He had a collapsing trachea. He had all these different things pop up. And I remember just being like going to the best in our profession, all the professors in vet school being like, help me, like fix him. Like, what is happening to him? And they're like, okay, we'll just do this. And you're going to have to monitor him. And I remember going home and being like, I still don't feel like I feel like I still don't know if we have like a good plan for him because he continues to decline and things keep popping up. And I remember thinking, going through that experience, watching him go through old age, thinking like, I wonder if there's a better way to do this. If we can do something different when it comes to senior and geriatrics. And when I graduated, I thought, well, let me spend the first couple of years getting my medicine honed in. And then I want to dive into this. And so I did. I started off with a podcast that I started called Senior Dog Revolution. It's a lot of fun. It's still out there. It's pretty old, but I record things every now and then for it. Then I started an Instagram account to talk to pet parents more about the issues they were going through. And then finally, 2 years ago, we started Senior Dog Veterinary Society, which I started with an internal medicine co-founder, Dr. Lauren Edelman, and then Dr. Lisa Lippman, another GP. And our whole goal was to figure out how can we in vet medicine enhance the care of these senior dogs in our practice. Because for most of us, when old dogs walk into your clinic, we don't do too many different things for them than the younger guys when they come in. We're saying, okay, like now you have to come back twice a year. Now we'll do blood work more. I don't know, maybe we do. And there's just so many more things that are going on with them. These old dogs deal with comorbidities. They have diseases of chronic pain. They have quality of life issues. There's a lot that goes into, even for you as a clinician with decision making, for you as a vet tech or a team member, with how you're communicating to those pet parents that are struggling with anticipatory grief as well. For you as a receptionist, when you pick up the phone and you hear them crying because they're worried their old dog's going to die and they need to schedule an appointment. Like there's just a lot of different factors that go into the senior pets as well as the pet parents that own them. And we wanted to figure out a way to do that better, to really dive into the geriatrics and what that looks like for vet medicine. So we formed Senior Dog Vet Society, and we already have 600 members of it that have signed up. They take a certification, they renew it every year. And it's a really cool thing. What I love the most about it is that if you become certified as a veterinarian, a vet tech, a vet team member, whatever, is a vet hospital, eventually we're going to have that. Pet parents in your area can go look up, like, for example, Los Angeles. They're like, all right, I want to find a veterinarian who's really good at senior dog care, or who takes who loves to see the seniors. And they can go onto our online directory at seniordogvets.com and they can type in LA, and all the vets and vet techs and vet team members that are certified in senior dog vets senior certification all pop up, so they can go find out what hospital you're at and then schedule an appointment to bring their old dog to see you. I think that's pretty amazing to connect those two groups of people, because there's a lot of people that love the elderly pets and vet medicine, and there's a lot of pet parents that worry about their elderly pets constantly. So connecting those two groups is really our goal.
Yeah, well, I always told clients the most expensive years are the juvenile and the senior, and everything in between is not that bad.
Yeah.
And I always try to have the conversation as well with senior pet owners. The difference between quality of life and longevity. And since you're so good at it, what's more important to you, quality of life or longevity when it comes to senior pets?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if we had to pick one, obviously it's gonna be quality of life. Nothing beats quality of life when it comes to senior pets. There's not one thing that's more important. You could have the most beautiful blood work, the most beautiful ultrasound on an older dog, but if his quality of life is really, really poor and he's not living well, and feels unwell or has significant pain that we can't control, or whatever it is that's going on with him, none of that matters, right? That doesn't matter, because what matters is actually like how this pet's quality of life that matters the most. So we talk about that all the time. And I think it's so funny because we have a lot of pet parents that come in, they're like, I want him to live forever. And I'm like, that's, yes, I want him to live forever too. We all do. But what we want him to live his happiest life for as long as possible. We want him to live his best life for as long as possible, not necessarily forever. Like it's not a win if we have the decrepit old poodle that's never had a dental that comes in and has made it to age 19 and looks like he's in extreme chronic pain, like that's not a win for us. The win is, let's get him to 19. He can still be decrepit a little bit, but like, let's make sure his mouth is taken care of and he's got all his meds and whatnot.
Right.
That's more the win, but just good quality life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still old school, and I love the saying, you never let anything die without the benefits of prednisone.
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
steroids. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And, people are like, oh, I can't, I won't start that. I'm like, your German Shepherd's 14. And yes, we would love to live till 19, but what if we could get him to 16 and he's comfortable and able to move?
Yeah.
Um, that conversation's so hard to have. It's very difficult because as a human, you put yourself, at least I always did, I would put myself in a like, holy shit, that could be my dog in a few years. And it's
Right.
just hard. You're battling yourself and trying to help the client. And more importantly, you're trying to give the animal the best life it could possibly have.
Yeah.
And it's a very bad balancing act. So
Yeah. It's definitely tough.
so do you rescue a bunch of seniors?
Yeah, we pretty much, we adopted a middle-aged dog this year, but for the most part, we adopt like exclusively seniors, well, exclusively old things. We love the old things here.
So you're
So,
a foster failure, is what you're
oh,
saying.
we're like repeatedly, yes, and a repeated foster play for these things. I currently have a spicy Maltese poodle thing that bites everybody that I'm about to foster fail, and I've been trying not to because he's a challenge, but I think we're probably going to end up adopting him because I don't see how he can go to any other home, honestly. So, but yeah, we always foster fail, and we're okay with it.
Yeah, it's funny because like I always have clients that used to come in and like, oh, I'm fostering this and I'm fostering that, and like 3 months later they'd be like, oh, this is my new dog. I'm like, weren't you just fostering that dog?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about you? Do you foster? You don't foster fail?
Oh, no, I live in Orange County. It's very hard, but every single animal we ever had was uh, a rescue from one of our hospitals. Every single
Yeah,
one of them.
yeah.
I am the medical director for the Laguna Beach Animal Shelter. So yes, I've had a few from there. Our potbelly pig was a foster fail from a home that was getting neglected. Yeah. So, every veterinarian's going to have nothing
Yeah,
but fosters that fail.
gotta have
And
all the misfits.
yeah. How do you have that conversation with people that they want to euthanize just because of cost of care? What options do you give owners?
Well, I think spectrum of care is really important, but I think that we focus on one, trying to give them options that are available to them and talking about what the ultimate, reorienting them to what the goal is, which is to try to give this pet the happiest life that we can for as long as possible. And then trying to figure out a way to do that within the means or a way that's reasonable for that pet. So I think certainly having open conversations about that and about what that can look like and being honest about it is the best way to go about those conversations. If sometimes, we're doing things like I think a dog has really bad arthritis. We can't afford blood work, but we want to do some medications. Well, then, hey, we don't know, but we're going to try, right? Let's try these medications and see how we do. And if we're doing worse, then come back and see me. Let's talk again. But I think just having open communication, letting them know that you're not judging them, giving them the options, talking about what their goal is or what their fear is and kind of like figuring that out, like getting them to talk about what their fear is or what is the hang up. Like sometimes it's like not the person there, it's someone at home that keeps telling them they need to put the dog down or whatever, or the pet down. So like figuring out where it is that you can kind of support them best, I think is how you do that.
Yeah, euthanasia is probably one of the hardest. It's one of the best gifts we have as a veterinarian, but it's also probably the hardest thing we do. Is there still a euthanasia case that still lingers in your brain that you'll always remember?
Um, I think certainly. I mean, there's like a couple that pop in my brain. I'm like, ding, 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 like all these like
Yeah,
different ones.
right.
I, I, I don't think euthanasia is the hardest part of our job, but I do think it's an extremely difficult thing for pet parents to go through and for vet teams to support them with. I think, there can be ups and downs with it. the hardest for me is going to be the behavioral euthanasias. Those are tough, right? And they're tough for everyone involved because they're a younger animal at home, and pet parents have often tried everything, and they feel like a failure. You might feel like you're a failure, even trying to help them manage it. I think those are really tough because it's always like, well, what if we found that one person that lives out on a farm and doesn't have anyone else in their home or whatever it is, and will never have any kids
Right. The
around and will never
unicorn,
be a
right?
danger. Yeah, it's like, what if, what if, what if? And I think pet parents will torture themselves over that despite like trying their best. But I think behavioral euthanasias are just notoriously one of the most difficult um, ones to do for everyone involved. And certainly I think there's a lot of course, doesn't mean, I mean, when they're old, it's really difficult as well. There's ones that stand out to me. Like I always find the ones where old dogs with like an old dog with like an oral tumor, right? Like one of those really bad oral cancers that grows really quickly. The dog feels good otherwise, but that oral tumor is now getting to the point where it's about to break the jaw or whatever it is. They can't swallow, they're gulping or whatever it is. And you're like, this is the one thing that like is the problem, but the rest of the dog feels, doesn't, it still wants to be there or whatever it is. And those are just like heartbreaking for me. I remember one of the most difficult ones that I first saw just like conceptually was this Newfoundland that had really bad arthritis. Like his skeleton had worn out, but his brain was still there. He was very much still there, very much wanted to still be with our family. And just, he couldn't get up. He couldn't do very much. Like he couldn't do anything. And mobility was huge, and they were unable to keep like kind of moving him around and whatnot. And that was, I think those can be really heartbreaking, those cases too. So, I mean, it's all heartbreaking. All the euthanasias are
Yeah.
heartbreaking. They really are. But the toughest part of at least for me, you tell me, Dr. G, I'm curious. For me, the toughest part of the job is um, dealing with maybe people that might be ungrateful or people that are rude or mean or whatever it is, and always kind of being like trying to take the high road with it and not be understanding and be like, they're probably having a really bad day. They're probably, this is going on. And then having to take care of yourself and your team members that are dealing with that. I think that could be a really difficult part in vet medicine. But tell me, what do you think is the toughest part of being a vet?
Well, for me, towards the end, it was the euthanasia. It was because I was on probably like the third generation of family member coming to see me. Like
Oh,
grandma came
wow.
to see me, mom and dad, and now their kids.
Yeah.
Um, those were hard. Like the euthanasias where, you know, I still, oh my gosh, this guy was like 67 years old, 66, and this was his dog that he got when he became the empty nester, right? This was the
Yeah.
dog fishing with him, went to the coffee shop with him, like was his buddy. And it was a yellow lab, and that one still never forget. When it
Yeah.
comes to clients being mean, I always did the, fool me once, uh, fool me once, fool
Shame
me
on you.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I gave everyone 2 strikes, and the second strike, I would have no problem getting rid of them. I'm a
Yeah.
strong believer in that we train our owners, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you create the type of owner that's going to come to you and see you and refer other friends to you.
Right.
Um, if you cater, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with catering to very needy clients, but if they're very needy every single time, like they take an hour of your time in the exam room, they expect 14 phone calls, they want you to respond to their email immediately, and then they refer others like that, then that's not the type of client you truly want. There,
Yeah.
there are little boutique practices that would do great, with that type of client. But I think when I dealt with clients, first off, I knew I wasn't going to make everyone happy. If you go in with that idea, then you're already a step ahead. Like I'm not
Yeah.
everyone's cup of tea, right? Number one. Number two, I made sure that my clients understood that if they were just there for an annual vaccine, hey, how you doing stuff? It was probably 15 minutes max. We're good. You need anything, email me. I'll get back to you. But if an animal was really sick, I made sure clients understood that I was there all the time, whatever they needed. And it's how you train your clients, I think, that really help you in the long run. The clients that are real trouble are usually the ones you don't want in your hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bonnie Lutz, who's an attorney out here in Southern California, but she's written all the articles on, her best article was Covering Your Assets, was basically about veterinary malpractice. And that's all she does is defend veterinarians against state medical boards. And I was very blessed because she actually was a client of mine at my clinic. But she was always the one that said, if you get a red flag, the slightest red flag, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Just send them on their way.
Yeah.
And I think that'll make your life easier.
Yeah. I think it's really good
You know,
practice. Well, I think it makes a difference too if you have the clinic, practice manager or the clinic owner that kind of practices that too, because you do train your clients and then you lose the ones that you don't want, that maybe aren't a good fit or aren't going to be treating your team right. So I think that really has a big impact, especially if it comes from the top down, and teaching your doctors and staff, how to deal with them. And I think certainly that has a huge effect on the experience, without a doubt. And I like
and
that. A lot.
But I also want to promise all these early career professionals, if you do get rid of a client and they write something bad about you on Yelp, they're probably going to write something bad about you on Yelp anyways. It was just a matter of time. The fact that
Yeah.
you sent them their records and said, please don't come back, it just put a little, gasoline on the fire, and it happened sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. These are really good
It's
lessons.
horrendous. So what have senior dogs taught you about resilience?
Senior dogs. Well, I think senior dogs are the most resilient. I mean, I think animals are the most resilient thing out there, right? Like, I think the way that they go through challenges and different things that are happening to them as they get older is just really inspiring. You watch them go through things like they start having pain as they move around, but they're still wagging their tail and doing their best and trying to be there and trying to savor every single moment that they have with you. Like, you watch them go through a surgery and just try to do their best to recover. Like, they're always just trying to do their best with whatever they're going through. And I think
Right.
just animals in general are just extremely inspiring, but especially the seniors that have been there, and have been through it before. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to watch dogs recover. Like, it's amazing, especially like young kittens, to see how fast they recover from stuff. It's insane.
yeah, yeah, they
And
do.
how you're like, if you had to do a foreign body on like a 5-month-old lab, because it's a 5-month-old lab that decides to eat something, they like wake up and are ready to eat like an hour later. It's like, let's go. We're good.
Yeah,
And even worse with the castration. I mean, how about those clients you had to call and say, okay, yeah, your dog's awake. Can you come get him? Yeah, we finished 20
right,
minutes ago. He
right.
needs to go home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that the way that they recover is really it's fun to watch as a vet for sure. But yeah, we've certainly had plenty of patients that have been younger that have had to been on, in trazodone comas while they recover in order to keep them
Yeah.
quiet. The pet parents are like, we can't keep them quiet, like we need the meds. And so, yeah, definitely what
Yeah.
happened with them.
Yeah. And yes, sometimes people will not put that e-collar on that 9-month-old lab because then they become a battering ram.
Yeah, it's tough. I
Come
mean,
up
I
with
had a,
something else. Think of
yeah,
something. I mean, because
yeah,
I've had clients come in with bruises and scrapes,
oh yeah.
almost like I did malpractice by sending the dog home with an e-collar.
I know those things are brutal at home. Once you've had your own dog in it, you're like, oh, these suck like so bad. We had
And heaven
I
forbid
remember.
they fall apart. I can never put
Well,
those darn
yeah,
things back together.
no, absolutely not. Those are tough. My
Yeah. Okay, I
things
got
that
one
touch it.
last question for you.
Yeah,
What's one irreplaceable truth you've learned from being a veterinarian?
an irreplaceable truth. I feel like I should probably have had this right. Let me see. Like, what's the irreplaceable truth? Um, I think that everyone on your team shows up and they try to have a good day. And so I think that the irreplaceable truth is treating staff with respect is just such an important part of being a good vet and a good leader on the team. And you're going to make mistakes with that. But I do think that should be something that you try to do every day. I try to come in when I walk into the hospital every single day and try to give 3 compliments to people. Just find any 3 people that I see. You look lovely today at the front desk. Like, where'd you get that? I love that color on you, whatever it is, when I walk in the day, because I have made mistakes previously in the past and how I've treated people before. And then I've realized that everyone shows up and they want to have a good day too. And I think you can certainly help create that to happen. How you treat your team members matters. That's it.
Exactly. Make sure you say hello to them when you come in. Good morning. Make sure you say
Good
goodbye
morning.
to everybody when you leave. I mean,
Yeah,
those are big truths that will definitely help you because your staff will be happy, which is
absolutely.
100% necessary to
Yeah.
have a good practice. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So,
And it needs to be genuine, like, so like what, like if we want to like challenge any new vet that's out there, and you can feel, I think, a little bit self-conscious doing this at first, but I challenge you to start every day when you walk into that animal hospital and give out 3 compliments, genuine ones that you mean. Like, hey, I saw you get that catheter in. You did like first try, like, that was good. Or you look nice, whatever it is you want to say. But I think starting off with that could be a really great way to start the tone for the day and help the team.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the vein could be as big as the Mississippi River and still doesn't mean you're going to hit it, right? Still doesn't mean
Right.
you're going to hit it.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
so if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can email me, certainly at Senior Dog Vet. So Monica at seniordogvets.com, and reach out. We'd love to hear from people. If you guys are interested in geriatric medicine or interested in senior pets, and then certainly reach out and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And, our goal, I know we didn't talk very much about it, but our goal at Senior Dog Veterinary Society is to have every single veterinarian, every single team member out there that gets Senior Dog Vet certified, because there's such a big part of our practices today. Like we should all be trying to learn how to do things differently for that really special demographic of patient. And so I think, reach out. I'm happy to talk to you guys about that and what we're doing differently.
Yeah, you also have pretty good Instagram following too.
Yeah, you can follow me at Senior Dog Doc. Say hello. Got all sorts of old crusty creatures on there that we talk about. And so we love to hear from you and,
Yeah.
and your
Oh,
elderly
man. Yeah.
pets. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some seniors that do get kind of crusty, right? Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we love
They're
them anyways. We do love
We
them
do.
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Monica, it was so good talking to you today. I hope to have you back soon. I hope to do more
Yeah.
things with you in the future. And absolutely, if you have any questions on anything senior, make sure you get a hold of Monica. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time here on Irreplaceable Truths. Goodbye.
Thanks for having me.